The Citizens Climate Lobby is a nonprofit, nonpartisan grassroots advocacy organization focused on national policies to address climate change. There are 13 chapters of the organization in Massachusetts, including one which recently launched in Springfield. Mary Jane Eustace and Steve Marantz co-founded the Springfield chapter, and they spoke with me in the studio.
I had become very concerned about climate change, and I was looking to do something about it, but I really didn't know. I had never really been involved politically. And I came across Citizens Climate Lobby, attended a meeting in Northampton, went to the regional conference, which is where I met Steve. And at that conference was really only my second encounter with Citizens Climate Lobby. We were already pretty enthusiastic and thought it would be great to have one in Springfield. One, it's the major city out in western Massachusetts, and Representative Neal has an office here, so we thought it was the perfect location to get one up and running.
And as a national organization, the Climate Lobby has been around for quite some time. There are about 13 chapters here in Massachusetts now, the Springfield, with the addition of Springfield. And the primary legislation that the lobby was pushing for that went before the House last session was the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. Wanted to make sure that I got the title correct there. What were the nuts and bolts of that piece of legislation, Steve?
Primarily, it's putting a fee on carbon, returning that fee to the population of the country. And the idea is, as the fee goes up, that will make, and the fee is on fossil fuels and carbon dioxide emitting emissions. And the idea is, as that goes up in price, the innovation part is America, being what it is, will find new and better and more efficient and cleaner ways to produce its energy.
Because it'll just be more and more expensive to do it the old way, yes, or the current way.
So the dividend part is the fees collected. I can give you a quick rundown of why Citizens Climate Lobby. It's not Citizens Climate Lobby's legislation. They had their own legislation, but since this was actually introduced in Congress, the powers that be at Citizens Climate Lobby said this is good. We want, something very good. Yes, is a lot better than nothing. So, one, it's effective. What we've been told is it will reduce emissions 40% within the next 12 years, which is also what the UN basically said we have. The goal is a 90% reduction in emissions from 2015 levels by 2050. So it's effective. It's bipartisan, and in today's day and age, being bipartisan is really quite important. It's good for people in that it will reduce air pollution, and the numbers we are led to believe is that probably the majority of folks will actually have more money in their pocket with the dividend coming back to them, and will certainly favor low-income folks.
So, but the idea in general to me sounds similar to a carbon tax, which Canada has looked at nationally. Is it similar to a carbon tax, or is it different?
Well, we like to use the word fee because if you don't use it,
tax is an unpopular word.
But if you don't drive your car, you don't pay gasoline tax.
Right.
But it's if you insist, you can call it a tax, but it comes back as a dividend.
And the reason that I bring up that phrase this way is because when we hosted the debate here between now Senator Warren and then candidate for Senate Jeffrey Deal, I asked them a question about whether a carbon tax, or as you're saying, a carbon fee, would be something, a potential solution to this challenge here in the United States. Neither candidate wanted to touch the question, just to cut down to brass tacks. But you really think that this is something that could be palatable?
Well, because it comes back, as I said, the majority of people in this country will actually have more money in their pocket as a result of this fee than not. I mean, the lower income folks, there's something, whatever. I encourage everyone to go to our website and/or the government website to take a look at the actual nuts and bolts of the bill. But more people will make money out of this than not. It's basically the folks who have the most money use the most energy. They will pay the most for this, and they will pay out more than they get back in the dividend. But the dividend is the crux. It's not just, one of the things that happened in France is they just put this tax on fuel, and people living out in the country, nothing was coming back to them. This is a much more refined thing. And one of the other aspects that we like about this bill is it's revenue neutral, since I think that the numbers are 2% goes to administration, 98% of the money goes back to the people. So it's not growing government. This is not like a new government program that's going to go on forever. And it does have a sunset clause in it, meaning that if we actually hit these targets, it goes away at the end of the day if we actually get there by 2050. So those are some of the nuts and bolts of the.
But targets in general are kind of nothing new to the environmental crowd. In fact, Massachusetts at the state level just recently, many legislators, about 85, got together and said this idea of 2050, let's reduce carbon emissions. But it feels like, and to be specific, it's that they signed the idea of reducing carbon emissions. It would be net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Is that a reasonable approach, though? Because it seems in the environmental community we set these targets and then they're not met and they kind of just disappear, and then people rally together again and set new targets. Is it getting anything done?
Well, in Massachusetts specifically, there's a law. But I don't know what happens if we break the law. But the law on the book in 2008 it's the Global Warming Solutions Act, and that's very specific about reaching these goals. If you don't reach them, I'm not sure what happens. But the carbon fee and dividend, or the energy innovation program, is very. The increasing price of carbon is the mechanism. This other stuff is let's get to the goal. But if there's so that's the mandate. The mandate is this will go up in price. One of the compromises that this bill has is a lot of potentially new regulations on the fossil fuel industry are not going to go on into effect until we see how this works. I mean, the old regulations are there. You're not going to reduce some of the car emissions and things. But the idea is you're not going to get double regulated while you also have to pay as your fossil fuel comes out of the ground. You pay for that in this fee. We're not going to put new regulations on you. That's part of the compromises of what's going on.
I think also a distinction might be that when you set a target, you're telling everybody, we hope and we want to get there. This is a little bit different in that they came up with the proposed legislation and hired experts to determine and project what the effect would be. And the effect would fall in line with the target. So they've studied, okay, if we put the fee on this much and increase it by this much, it will help stimulate the economy. The low and moderate income people will be getting this much every month, and they balanced it out to reach a certain point in the future. So it's not just a policy of we would like to reach this. It's been studied, and I'm not a data scientist, but that's what they did. They hired an organization to study the details of the economic effects, the health effects, how long it would take, which segments of the population would actually be most likely keep money, which segments of the population may have to pay more out of pocket. And that's how they came up with the carbon fee and dividend. And I just wanted to point out the difference between the fee and a tax is also that a tax, as Steve mentioned, goes to government. It grows government. What makes this attractive, particularly to people who are more conservative in their views, is that it goes from the fee, from the carbon emitting producing companies to American households. It's not going to government. It's not serving a government program.
And again, this is all proposed. It's something that was taken up by the House. Whether or not the Senate will take it up, we will have to wait and see.
It needs to be reintroduced because it was introduced in the last session. So a new session, but that's one of the aspects. I'll make a little pitch here for Citizens Climate Lobby for folks in this area, since Representative Richard Neal is now chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. Any revenue-producing bill, which this one is, since it collects the fee, gives it back, but collects the fee, will go through House Ways and Means. And so we, as members of Citizens Climate Lobby, we ask the residents of Representative Neal's district, and if any other congressional district you happen to be living in, to talk to your congressman, but should any legislation come through about carbon pricing and carbon fee and dividend, to encourage Representative Neal to certainly bring that to the floor and hold hearings on it and talk about this, because from our point of view, from Citizens Climate point of view, this is the issue, this is the existential threat to all of us, is climate change.